Hey everybody, it's your boy Nerdicane. If you're listening to me and you like this, hit a like and hit a subscribe. I'm trying to do a subscriber drive right now. We'll see how that turns out. But now to the news. Turns out today, Batman number 50 was spoiled, and to be honest, I was kind of looking forward to seeing this as kind of a milestone issue, and DC was too, because DC had done a lot of effort into hyping this and pumping this and doing a lot of things, but in an interview, I don't blame Tom King for this. I blame the guy writing at the New York Times. Putting the spoiler in your title is just bad. That just pissed off a lot of people. So the story came out, and right off the bat, in the title, spoils Batman number 50. I'm not going to spoil. I'm not going to talk about the actual spoiler. What I do want to talk about is why this happened. Now, I'm sure that it's not as complicated as when the media gets to see movies ahead of time. They get to read books ahead of time. So they have NDA, non-disclosure agreements, where they agree, okay, you'll let me see this. I can't talk about it until you say I can talk about it. And generally that's a good thing. That's one of the ways that you know if a movie's good or not. If you start seeing reviews from the media before the movie comes out, then that means the studio's proud of it, the director's proud of it, everybody's proud of it, and they're like saying, hey, check this out. Whereas movies, I can't remember recently, like probably Justice League, where they had a gag order. Nobody could talk about the movie until the movie came out. Nobody could do reviews. But that's what those are. And I guess comic books aren't really big enough for them to demand something like that. We're not a big enough industry. But this situation shows that the media, the normie media, doesn't respect comic books. And this kind of stuck with me all day, and I started thinking about it. And the conclusion that my brain came to was, why should they respect comic books when the comic book companies don't respect comic books right now? If you look at Marvel is the biggest comic book company in the world. They're bigger than DC. They have, the MCU is enormous. They're bigger. They're just part of Disney, which is bigger. Marvel's on kind of a race to the bottom. If you look at the quality of writing, if you look at the quality of art, everything's gone to this no background, green or pink miasma floating behind all the characters. The quality of that has gone down, and that's due to Marvel paying peanuts to artists and switching artists all the time. You see Erica Henderson's, you see just these really lackluster artists, because that's all Marvel is. It's not that that's all they can afford. That's all they're willing to pay. So all the good artists go to DC right now, and then you get the great artists, Ethan Van Sciver, doing their own thing. And you look at the writing as well. Chris Sabella, terrible writer. Really doesn't take comics seriously. Rainbow Rowell is writing comic books every month. It comes out every month. Runaways is absolutely awful. It's just a bad book. I really think she needs to go back to YA novels, which is her wheelhouse. And there's just so many other writers at Marvel and DC and editors who just aren't editing. When you look at the overall quality of the comics that we're seeing right now, do you think any of these storylines would be turned into movies? Do you think Runaways, Rainbow Rowell's Runaways series, do you think that would ever be turned into a movie? Squirrel Girl, do you think any of the stories from Squirrel Girl? Right now, I think the only lines that might be probably maybe Mr. Miracle and Batman White Knight. Although that won't get turned into a movie, that'll get turned into an animated movie, which will be so much more awesome that way. I'd rather see it that way as that. But in general, why should the media, why should the outsiders take comic books seriously? That's what I want to get across here. When we're living in a time and an age of comic books where comic book creators don't even take themselves seriously. They create clubs to insulate themselves from criticism. They use block bots. They have these little mafias to kind of push other artists and creators out of the industry who don't have the same political views as them. Comics right now is sort of a zoo. And when I think long and hard about it, and I think about the hard truths of it, the media really doesn't have any reason to respect comic books, because the top comic book is selling about 100,000 right now, as opposed to the 90s when the top comic book would sell each month would sell in the millions. So before we get all mad about this spoiler and the writer, we got to stop and we got to take a hard look at our industry. We didn't get respected. Do we deserve? Does the comic book industry in 2018 deserve to be respected with all the things that go on? And then now that I think about it, DC, they built this event, and then the event was just a complete bait and switch. So yeah, I don't think there's bright spots in the industry, but I really don't think we're deserving of a whole lot of respect in the industry, and that's got to change. Otherwise, the comic book medium, this art form that we've grown to love, is going to die. But that's all I got for that. I'm going to cut this one short and concentrate on driving home. But I'm Nerdicane. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. Once again, hit a like, hit a subscribe, and have a good night.